رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم إلى يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي وفي زدني علما. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to Qaim, dear learners. Inshallah, we will look into the ayahs in Surah Baqarah, verse number 106 to 108. We will start with the recitation. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ما ننسخ من آية أو ننسها نأت بخير منها أو مثلها ألم تعلم أن الله على كل شيء قدير ألم تعلم أن الله له ملك السماوات والأرض وما لكم من دون الله من ولي ولا نصير أم تريدون أن تسألوا رسولكم كما سئل موسى من قبل ومن يتبدل الكفر بالإيمان فقد ضل سواء السبيل صدق الله العظيم. Before we go into the explanation, the word for word and the explanation of this particular ayah, I would like to introduce you to some concepts so that it will be easier for us to understand the ayah. Now, there are two ways that Allah removes revelation from people. Allah has sent down a revelation to the people. It has been applied, it has been implied in everyday lives, and then He removes it away from them. This was a scenario which actually happened at the time of the Prophet. Now, Allah does this in two ways. What is the first way He does it? The first way He does it through abrogation. So, the nasakh or abrogation. The word nasakh or abrogation means to cancel out, to make something void, to nullify it, to make the previous ayahs invalid and to make the new ayahs applicable and valid. It could be a complete removal or it could be even a partial amendment. So the later verses will change the previous verses, the previous commandments. Both are commandments, but the latest commandment will nullify the previous commandment. We will learn more about this with an example. For example, for the initial ayahs that were sent down regarding alcohol, consumption of alcohol, we need to keep in mind that Arabs were great drunkards. They had barrels of wine in their house, huge barrels of wine in their house, and almost every household had it. And that was why, when there was a complete ban on alcohol, the Arabs broke out their barrels and it flew like river on the streets. That was the amount of alcohol they stored individually in each house. So, what was the verse that Allah sent down to them? The first verse that came down to them regarding alcohol was in Surah Al-Baqarah 219, verse number 219. Allah says, Yas'alunaka anil khamri wal maisir. They ask you about wine and gambling. Tell them that there is some benefit, but the harm is akbar. The harm is greater. So we see that our consumption of alcohol, drinking, is discouraged in this word. In this verse. There is no prohibition here. We see that Allah says that no, alcohol consumption is not good. There is a lot of evil in it for you. And then after a few years, the next ayah comes down in Surah Nisa 4:43. Allah says, do not approach prayer while you are sukara, while you are drunk. So do not approach prayer if you are drunk, that is in a state of intoxication, that you do not know what are the verses that you are reciting. So this is a prohibition on drinking at 5 appointed times of the day. It covers most of the day, in fact. So it is a strict command. Keep away from drinking or do not be in an intoxicated state when you come and stand for prayer. So it was a partial ban on consumption of alcohol. And finally, the verse that completely banned alcohol came in much later, only after they had migrated. It comes down in Surah Maida. Allah says that, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O those who believe, gambling and wine and all forms of intoxicants have been made haram for you. It is the amal shaitan. It is the work of the shaitan. Now there was a complete prohibition on consumption of alcohol. And it was at this time when this verse came down that the Makkans and the Madinans, all those who had stored barrels of alcohol in their houses, came, brought it out to the roads, broke it open, and let it flow like river. So now we see that the first ayah was a discouragement of concerning drinking. The next ayah which came down abrogated the first ayah and it said that do not drink, do not pray while you are drunk. And then the final ayah came down and it abrogated the previous ayah and said do not drink at all. So this was how ayahs were. It was Allah who sent out all the three ayahs, but He Himself abrogated His ayahs in stages. So this was the first way that Allah removes revelation away from people. Now, this itself, this concept of nasakh or abrogation itself, is a proof of the divine origin of the ayahs. Because Allah, who knows what is best for a particular situation, for a particular group of people, He has to make the people ready to accept the ayah. Only when faith strengthens in a person, he will be ready to take in that the command that Allah comes in. Imagine if that total ban on alcohol had come an initial part of the prophethood. The people would not have been ready to take it in because they were not prepared for it. Only when they were, Iman had been strengthened and they were ready to accept any command that Allah brought down to them, only after a major part of prophethood had passed, Allah brought down this ayah and they openly accepted it because Allah knows the hearts of the people and He knows how prepared and how ready they are to accept it. And at the right time, He sends down the verse and people accept it. So it was a proof of divinity itself. It was a proof of Allah's wisdom. And this the verses concept of abrogation that came down concerning the ayahs of Allah. But now, what did the Jews do? The Jews, they were looking for any kind of excuse to contradict the Muslims, to contradict the Quran, to prove that the Quran is wrong. They wanted to undermine Islam, to defame Islam, because the Prophet had not come from their community, isn't it? They had come from a community which they who were supposed to be completely different from. They were the Gentiles. They were not the learned community. These people, they were the Jews considered themselves the people of the book. We are the privileged people. Now on earth, is it possible that a prophet, the final messenger, comes from some another community? They simply could not accept it. And so they wanted to bring Islam down in whatever opportunity that they had. So they made an issue of these kind of abrogations. They said, now we see these kind of several abrogations like this coming down in the formative years of Islam concerning hijab as well. Slowly, the verses about hijab were revealed, and finally, the complete verse was revealed. So, and in as in several other cases. So now they started making fun of this. What is this Quran? You say one thing now, and after a few years, you remove it, and then you change it to something else. What kind of Allah is this? You say everything is from Allah. You say the origin is from Allah. If everything is from the same source, why can't He send down the exact verse or the exact commandment at the first time itself? Why does He keep contradicting His own words, or why does He keep changing His own words? Why is that even possible? Why should that even be possible? How can that happen? If you say it is Allah's words, why should He keep changing it? So it actually, the Jews' statements was a sign of their deep hatred, their treachery towards the Muslims, and their intention was they wanted to confuse the simple Muslims. No, there were some Muslims who were not very knowledgeable or not very learned, and their faith was in its formative stage. And they wanted to weaken the faith of these kind of Muslims as well, and confuse them with all kind of accusations against the Quran. And then they would say that, see, you say that Torah is also from Allah, and your Quran confirms the Torah. And now why is Allah abrogating the verses of the Torah itself? What is the reason for this? No, all kind of confusions and accusations, and the Jews try to bring into the Muslim community. But we need to keep in mind that all these kinds of partial amendments and complete amendments that Allah made was in response to the changing circumstances that were prevailing at the time of the Prophet. When the Prophet was in Makkah, the scenario was completely different. They were in a submissive stage. The Muslims were tortured, and the verses revealed at that time was different. Once they moved into Medina and they won battles over there, they had the upper hand. So it was the right time for the commandments to be applied. So as per the situation they were living in, as per in their interest, what was good for us, Allah sent out the verses. But the Jews used this itself as an excuse to taunt the Muslims and to make fun of the Quran. And now we will go into the ayah. Now that we have understood the concept, the first concept of how Allah removes the revelation from the Quran, the first concept is He abrogates. Whatever we abrogate, ma nansakh min ayatin of an ayah, that is of a verse, or nunsiha, or we cause it to be forgotten. This is the second way that Allah removes revelation from people. We cause it to be forgotten, simply Allah makes people forget the ayah. No, for example, someone asks us about something that happened early on, a particular incident or something. We say like, yeah, I do remember it, but I don't quite remember it. It's kind of vague. Maybe I don't remember it at all because it's away from our memory. We've forgotten it. So Allah sent down ayahs to a prophet, but did not actually come down into written form. It was in the minds of people, and then Allah removed it away from the minds of people. It did not actually enter the Quran. What the abrogations that we see, the abrogations that we see are what have actually entered the Quran. They had a textual form. But whatever has been forgotten or consigned to oblivion, it has been completely removed away from people's mind. It is not needed at all anymore. So Allah completely takes it away from the minds of people. The scholars also say that this forgotten can refer to old manuscripts, the old records or documents of the previous scriptures that came down to the Prophet. All these also come under the category of forgotten. The original sources from Allah, but forgotten, removed away from history and from the minds of people. So whatever we abrogate, either I abrogate an ayah, that is I cause it to change, or I remove it from your minds. What happens next? Na'ti bi khairin minha aw mithliha. We bring better than it or similar to it. So Allah responds to the accusations of the Jews. They are taunting the Muslims, isn't it? How can such abrogations happen? Allah is telling them either of the two happens. If it happens, what happens next? We only bring something better than it. It's not something inferior never follows to it. You are only moving forward in your way. Life only becomes easy for you. These verses, which are abrogated, and the new commands that come in, are a mercy, a blessing, and it makes life lighter for you. How, for example, Yaqub alayhi salam, he forbade some food for himself. He did not like it. So he says, I'm not going to eat it. We can say, I don't like seafood. I'm not going to touch seafood. I don't like this vegetable, that vegetable. It is not haram for me, but I don't like it, so I'm not going to take it. So that was what Yaqub alayhi salam did. But what did the Israelites do after that? They put a complete ban on it. Yaqub alayhi salam did not eat it, so it is haram for us. They declared it haram. So now when the Quranic ayahs came down, it made it quite clear that this food is not haram for you. What is haram for you only falls under four categories. Everything else is halal for you. It made the boundaries of haram smaller and expanded the boundary of halal. Does that not make our life easier? Imagine if this is haram, that is haram, that is haram. So many things are haram around us. We need to be very careful. But Allah says only four things are haram when it comes to you for food: the flesh of swine, the blood, dead meat, and anything or any food that any name other than Allah has been called upon. Everything under the sea is halal for you. So the boundary of halal is huge, isn't it? So when new verses come down abrogating the previous ayahs, life becomes easy for us. It is only better for you. It is only khair for you, or the like of it. It is either equal to what you have been already going through, or it is something better for you. You never come down. Your life does not become tougher. You never come down. It only lightens the burden for the people. And now Allah is asking, what is the reason for the Jews to complain now? I have made things easy for you. Why do you want to complain? There is no issue. Either I am confirming what has already come down to you, or I am making life easy for you. For example, even when it comes to the Sabbath, the Jews had a day, dedicated to worship. That was their Saturday. The entire day, for the entire 24 hours, they could not work or do any kind of business. So it was a restriction for that particular day. It was haram if they had to go and seek the bounty or seek any form of benefit at that time. But for the Muslims, for us Muslims, Friday was assigned to us for Jummah, and only for a couple of hours we are allowed to let go. We are told to let go of our work or business issues and come to prayer. After that, Allah says, "Fantashiru," spread in the land and seek the bounty of Allah. Now, does our life become simpler or does it become tougher because of this abrogated verse? The Torah says one full day, the Quran says only a couple of hours. So our life becomes easier. I'm giving you something better than it. I'm giving you khair. So there is no reason for you to complain. The reason that the Jews complained constantly about it was it was not to know the truth. They wanted to cast doubts on the Quran. So Allah is warning the Muslims here, do not fall a prey to what the Jews are telling you. Be on guard. Do not follow their behavior either. This is what they did, constantly asking something or the other, and it led to their downfall. Now you do not do that. Do not fall a prey to your confusion. And then Allah says, Alam ta'alam anna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. Do not you know that Allah has power over everything? Allah is the originator of the verses. Allah is the source of all divine texts. So if He has sent down the verse at the first instance, He also has the right to abrogate it. Who are you to dictate terms to Him? How dare you dictate terms to Allah? Do you know everything? He is the sovereign. He has unlimited power. He has complete authority over everything. And how can you tell that this is right and that is wrong and you are dictating terms to Allah? How dare you do that? Who are you to even say that? Allah asks the people who are contradicting who have contradicting views and who are talking against the Quran or mocking or taunting the verses of abrogation. And then we see in the next verse, Alam ta'alam annallaha, do not you know that Allah, for Him is the dominion of the heavens and the earth, lahu mulku samawati wal ard, wa ma lakum min dunillahi min waliyyun wala nasir. It is an emphasis of the previous verse itself when Allah says, do not you know that for Him is the dominion of the heavens and the earth. So here Allah says, here this address is to two people, to the Muslims and to the Jews as well. To the Jews, it is a warning and a reminder. Why? The Jews campaign had an effect on the Muslims, and the trust and the confidence of the Muslims in the Prophet was coming down because of the confusions that they were causing. So the first reminder was to the Muslims. So Allah is reminding the Muslims, see, do not fall a prey to the Jews, as I told you earlier. All the success and failure that you endure, life and death, whatever Allah allows or disallows, whatever He decides, everything is in Allah's hands. Mulku sama, the word mulk itself has a vast meaning. It could mean sovereignty, authority, dominion, power, kingdom. Everything belongs to Allah. Laws, governance. He decides the laws, He dictates the laws, He changes the laws, He puts the laws into place. Everything is in His control. So do not become a prey, do not become a victim to the treachery, to the manipulation of the Jews. And be careful. Allah warns the Muslims and He sends a reminder to them as well. It also addresses the Jews because, see, the Jews were a part of a community. It was a tight knit community in Medina. There were some Jews who were very stubborn and rebellious. There were also some Jews who knew in their hearts that this was the truth, but they could not accept it, because what happens if you accept it? When the majority of the people are not ready to accept it, and then I declare my faith in the Prophet, a prophet from a community that is considered as an enemy to my own community, what will happen to me? I will be ostracized. I will be left out. I will be shut away. I will be cast away. So they had a fear that if I were to accept Islam openly, then my community will keep me away. Where will I go? Where is my protection? Where is my help? And Allah tells them, وَمَا لَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ, and not for you from besides Allah, مِّن وَلِيٍّ وَلَا نَصِيرٍ. There is no help or protection for you other than Allah. You worry about protection, you worry about help. The word Nasir itself, even though translated as helper, it is a very simplified version of helper, Nusra, Nasir. It means that it is a permanent help. When Allah says, I'm going to help you, there is no one can help you like Allah. There is no one who can protect you. There is no wali or no nasi. The kind of help that Allah gives you, no one can do that. No kind of human being can give that to you. You are worried about what peer pressure. Now, this is real. Their fear was real. Even now in society, when we see when people accept Islam, they have to hide their faith. They are scared because what will happen if I come out? Will I be completely cast away? Then I will lose my entire line of family and friends. What should I do now? No, it is a very bold decision that they have to take. And that was it was the Jews were living also in a similar situation, and so they hid their faith, did not have the courage to come out. And Allah says, "Do not worry, you will not receive the kind of protection and help that I am going to give you." So be open and boldly come out with the truth. And then we move on to the next ayah. Or do you desire, or do you wish, أن تسألوا رسولكم, that you ask your messenger, كما سئل موسى من قبل, as was asked Musa from before. Now this verse was addressed to the Muslims and to the Jews as well. He says, or do you wish that you ask your messenger, Rasulakum? Allah embraces everyone in this Kum. He does not say this is the messenger of the Arabs or the messenger of this particular. This is your messenger. It is a messenger for you Jews as well. And he says, do you wish that you ask the messenger as was asked Musa alayhi salam from before? Now, what is this Allah? What is Allah talking about here? What did the Jews constantly ask Musa alayhi salam? Again, this verse is a warning and a reminder to the Muslims, do not follow the footsteps of the Jews. What did the Jews do? They had that habit of constantly asking something or the other to the Prophet, to their Prophet, that is to Musa alayhi salam, and other prophets as well. They used to have hair-splitting arguments about things which did not really matter. No, they were constantly asking questions after question. In fact, this very surah, Surah Baqarah, is named after, it means cow. It is named after an incident where the Bani Israelites are told to take a piece of dead meat of a cow and to hit it on a corpse so that the truth would be revealed. Now, when Allah gives this command, they keep on asking, what kind of cow should it be? Should it be young or should it be old? Should it have, should it be a healthy cow or a sick cow? Or what should the color of the cow be? They constantly keep asking Musa alayhi salam question after question after question, needless questions, useless questions. Allah just says, take a cow. But they would not leave it at that. So, these kind of questions that the Jews kept on asking, do not do that. Do not keep asking the same thing again and again. To the point that Musa alayhi salam tells them, "Lima tu'adhunani, why do you cause me pain?" He does not ask, why do you question me? Musa alayhi salam asked, "Lima tu'adhunani, why do you cause me pain? Why do you aggravate me by asking so many question after question after question? What is the point in asking so many questions?" So there might be a question that comes into our mind. So what is wrong in asking questions? Only if I ask questions, my doubts will be clarified, my queries will be answered, I will get to learn more. Of course, asking is good, but there is a difference between asking and questioning. Asking is good, it is encouraged. There are several verses in the Quran itself where Allah says, O Prophet, they ask you about the new moon. O Prophet, they ask you about menstruation. And the verses are revealed, this is this, this is this, and this is how this should be approached. And the answers are given. There is nothing wrong with that. Allah encourages that, isn't it? But when it comes, and if there is a person comes, I don't understand this, help me out. Asking itself is half of knowledge. But the tone, your intent, and attitude matters when you ask the question. For example, if a person comes and asks, how do I calculate my zakat? I have so much money and I have so much investments. How do I calculate my zakat? This is a genuine question. But if a person comes and asks, why should I give 2.5% zakat? Why not 1.5%? I will give 1% this year and 1.5 the next year. Why should there be a percentage? Let me give whatever I want to give. This year I'm doing good, next year I'm not doing so good. Leave it to me. So now this is wrong. This is questioning. Asking how to calculate zakat is asking, and that is very much allowed and encouraged, and it is a source of knowledge. But if you're going to ask, why should I do a particular thing? After knowing well that is a clear commandment from Allah, then you are questioning the commands of Allah. You have a doubt in the legitimacy of the commands. You're questioning a very important injunction that has come down from Allah. And Allah says, in a hadith, Allah says, I hate three things and I love three things. And the list of hate things that He hates, Allah says, He hates people who ask questions again and again. So when we need to remember that we should not dig too much into things that the Prophet and Allah has not elucidated. It is not because Allah has forgotten it. He has told us what we need to know, what is essential for us, what we need to know to get by our lives, to carry out our commands. Allah has already given those explanations to us. So we should not dig deeper and deeper into it, and hold on to the Quran and hold on to the Hadith. And you don't, go into excessive questioning. This is not a good sign. In fact, it is a disease of the heart. There is something wrong. There is a lack of faith. There is a problem in my iman. Only when a person has a problem in his iman, when it is on a downward spiral, will all these kind of questions come out. So all kind of hypothetical issues. What if this happens and that happens and that happens and this happens and how should I behave? All these kind of. This was the kind of hair-splitting arguments that the Jews involved themselves in. So Allah is warning the Muslims: do not ask as you asked a messenger. Why? See, Allah says, do you wish to ask your messenger as was Musa alayhi salam from before? So do not ask your messenger like Musa alayhi salam was troubled before. And see the second part of the ayah. وَمَن يَتَبَدَّلِ الْكُفْرَ بِالْإِيمَانِ. Whoever exchanged disbelief for faith, so certainly he has went away from the straight way. And what is here? Allah uses a very strong word. Whoever exchanges disbelief for faith. Where has disbelief and iman been interchanged here? How has it happened? Allah was only talking about questioning, and suddenly iman and kufr is brought into this ayah, because questioning a messenger is equal to questioning Allah. The Prophet never speaks on his behalf. He only speaks on Allah's behalf. The Prophet's words are equal to Allah's words. He only tells what he has been commanded to do. So when you question a messenger, you are in fact questioning Allah, and that is kufr. What else is it? You are questioning the legitimacy of the messenger. You are questioning the legitimacy of the commands, the message, and the teachings that Allah has sent down through the messenger. So you are in fact questioning Allah and His revelations itself. So Allah says, whoever does that, then he has exchanged in the place of iman, he has brought in kufr. And what has he done? He has certainly went astray from the straight path. So he has completely strayed away. He has lost track. Now we cannot question the messenger directly. He's not with us anymore, isn't it? So how do we get to question them? How does this verse apply to us now? How do we learn about the messenger? We learn about our Prophet from the Quran, the Seerah, the Sahih Bukhari, Muslim, everything. So the Prophet's life and his commands and his teachings is our constitution. It is the constitution of every Muslim, and it is the constitution of the Ummah. His entire life has been encapsulated in the forms of literature that I already told you now. So it is from this that we take our inferences and our injunctions and we apply it to our everyday life. Now, if we were to question the Quran, if we were to question the Sunnah that has been recorded, or the Hadith that we come across, then we are in fact questioning the Prophet. And we are questioning the commands of Allah. So this is something that we have to completely keep away. The Prophet himself told very beautifully in a Hadith, leave me as I leave you. Those before you were destroyed because of excessive questioning and disputing with the Prophet. Therefore, when I command you to do something, hold on to it. And when I say stop, stay away from it. It is a very clear hadith which tells us how we need to lead our life. So what have we seen today? The first ayah, we saw the two ways that Allah removes revelation away from people. He removes it away through abrogation, that is the new ayahs nullify the previous ayahs, or he removes it from the minds of people. Both of these options are applied, and what comes forth from it is something better than it, which makes life easier for us, the Sharia easier for us, because Allah has power and knowledge over everything. And as for those people who question the abrogations and the changes that Allah brings about, Allah says, I am the one who originated. I have complete control over everything. Who are you to question? And if you move away, if you lack in faith because of these things, you will not have any protector or any helper other than Allah. And then Allah says in this ayah that do not trouble the Prophet, do not constantly ask questions as the Jews did. This led to their downfall. Hold on to what I have sent you, because if you're going to constantly question the messenger, or we are going to look at the and question the sunnah that we read through now, it is as though we are questioning Allah and the legitimacy of his message. So that will be equivalent to replacing iman with kufr. Then a person has completely lost track, and there could not be any worse punishment. Ahir dawana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Inshallah, now we will